A very good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for joining. And we welcome Dr. Saurabh Anand, sir, Associate Professor Sociology and the Head of the Department Social Science at Gujarat National Law University. So he'll be talking about the data collection and then how to prepare a questionnaire. Recently, we planned a program on advanced research methodology, and then recently, last week, on SPSS. The data analysis comes later on. First of all, we have to collect the data, like prepare a good questionnaire, then we are able to collect good number of data and decent data that will be helpful in our analysis. So today, Dr. Saurabh Anand will be talking about the how to prepare, prepare question and how to collect data collection, data. So he's having specialization in sociology. He's working in Gujarat National Law University for last 16 years. Before that, he worked at Ludhiana and then Panjab University also. His area of research interest is sociology, law, and research methodology and legal research. And he's a pioneer in starting a course on sociology and social work at Gujarat National Law University. And he also faculty coordinator of GNLU Legal Service Committee. So on behalf of Ownership Committee, we welcome you, sir, and then request you to enlighten our faculty members and PhD scholar and obviously budding scholar also or related to this particular aspect. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kalpesh sir. It's an honor for me to be connected with all my fellow colleagues, those who are pursuing PhD and those who are here as a student of research methodology to learn about the new developments happening in the domain. It's a kind of learning which I always say to everyone that research methodology is a lifelong, I can say, subject which the individual has to keep it close to the heart. And already I can say admire and appreciate the efforts of Dr. Kalpesh Gupta in this direction because he's making effort since long time. I know him as a colleague that he's trying to I can share the thoughts, share the new developments in the domain happening anywhere. So keeping that thing in mind, so sir has told me to take up a topic on questionnaire. So already I can understand that most of you have gone through the different methods of data collection. And in case I will also appreciate in case if you have any questions, any doubt, you can pause me in between. That will be making more the lecture more fruitful. Otherwise, it will be one way of dialogue in which is only I'm able to speak, but I'm not able to get the response from the participants end. So I'll be happy in case if you have any doubt, feel free to approach me. Or you can pause, you can question me also in between. So we're talking about questionnaire because when you start about the questionnaire over here, it comes with the purpose of research. Research already we have mentioned that it's a kind of search of knowledge. So already in the initial of the lecture, when we have started the research methodology, the resource person must have taken up all those things. So again, just to give a touch on that, I'm moving on that it is from the study from knowing something to the unknown and again from unknown to the knowing things. So this is a kind of cycle which we have to follow. And already we have discussed about in that also the importance of the hypothesis, importance of research question, objectives, the entire steps of research methodology which has been taken care by the resource person. So when we talk about the questionnaire and in that way, we try to understand that it's too easy. For example, question to puchna hai. I will try to make up in that way that it's very easy that we have to ask question only, nothing to think too much on that. Generally, people assume that asking question is very easy. But in reality, I told you, I mentioned it's a skill. So when I say it's a skill, it means there's a need to develop that knowledge, how the questions need to be drafted, how the question need to be sequentially placed, at which sequence which question has to be there, what kind of the word or the language should be there in when we ask question. So I'll take up all those things as a kind of exercise also by showing you certain kind of examples that how things are happening. So we're talking about that how the is a kind of learned by carefully, otherwise the information that is collected may be worthless. So maybe we have collected the information, but that information doesn't have any value. In case if you have not learned the technique and the art of drafting and crafting the questions. So it should be given that the respondent should have a clear idea. And when we talk about that, I'll discuss about it in detail. I'm just giving a kind of introduction, how the things will go ahead. And the understanding of the question. Question should not be vague. It should not be ambiguous. It should not be double meaning in that way. It should not create unnecessary confusion in the mind of the respondent. So that is, we have to avoid that point. Questions can be open-ended, close-ended. We need to ensure that when we talk about the questionnaire as a technique, because there are two techniques which will come across. One is the through mail and through the individual self uh, going to collect the information. That's we talk about questionnaire. So it is to stimulate the response, motivate the respondents. How respondents should answer clear-cut instruction. So this is how we try to understand what are the background of the method of data collection, that is questionnaire. When we talk about the question as a method over here. So when you talk about questionnaire, what do you mean questionnaire in simple word? Questionnaire are a set of written questions. So we have to make it very clear that already one of the, I can say, resource must have taken up that there are different methods of data collection. So one of the method is questionnaire, which is in the written format. Make it very clear, the word is written. It means it should be properly documented, written in the printed, what we want to say, designed to get a standardized information about opinion, experiences, intentions, preferences, behavior of individuals, and which is purpose of any scientific study. So when we talk about scientific study, already in the research person must have talked about is scientific means they will be more objectivity, less of the individual biasness. The data should be properly documented. That's why we talk about scientific study. So this is how we try to analyze that when we talk about the questionnaire also, it should be scientific in nature. So when you talk about the types of the questionnaire, they are structured, unstructured, and quasi-structured. So structured, it means that you already have made the proper sequences of the questions, what question should come at which label, at which label. That is how properly printed. That is how the structured question should go. When you talk about unstructured, so unstructured generally we try to understand it's being used mostly when the I can say research scholar is taking the individual information from the respondent in the individual capacity. So that's what we talk about is unstructured. So generally in this kind of technique also, when you talk unstructured question when you are having in unstructured questions, the individual research scholar need to be so well trained that he or she can be able to take out the valid information, what is being required from the respondent. That is how unstructured is can be quite useful when you have developed the I can say learning, when you have developed the sharpen the skills in the research methodology. So generally, as a scholar, I always say that unstructured can be quite useful when you know the subject properly, thoroughly you know the subject. Then in that way, unstructured can be quite useful. Whereas quasi-structured is a kind of combination of structured and unstructured. So this is how we try to put you at this point, at this moment, as a PhD scholar, that already you have done your master. In master you must have done some kind of seminar paper. Then that time you must have learned about the methods of research methodology. In case if you're from LLB directly going to pursue PhD also. So in LLB also we have now the seminar papers. So in that time also you have done something on that. So in that way we put you in the PhD domain as a research scholar that you can know the combination of structured and unstructured questions. The questionnaire design should how it should be. It is easy to administer. It means that the information which we are trying to gather should be known to the scholar and also to the respondent. So both ones should know what they are going ahead, for what purpose they are coming together. Constructed in a way that the research hypothesis or research problem, but also has the capability to identify new issues. because one has to keep it in mind whenever we are going for the method of data collection, especially using the questionnaire method. As a scholar, I'll come on that slide also. One has to keep it in mind about the importance of your research topic. What is the topic on which you are pursuing your PhD, on which you're pursuing your research study? And that manner, the topic should be able to give you clarity of your hypothesis. In case you are not hypothesis, then you should have the understanding of research questions. And on that basis, research question, when you're drafting questionnaire for data collection, then you should able to find the information for which you are going ahead. So this is how we talk about the understanding of hypothesis and research problem, and also able to provide a new insight. That is how we always talk about it. What is the significance of your research? What is the new domain, new idea, new insight which you want to make it to the future world, future readers from your work? So that one is to keep it in mind. It is easy to analyze and can provide all the characteristics of the informant being interviewed. So we have to also keep it in mind that any information which we are gathering in our questionnaire technique through our questionnaire method need to be further converted into a numerical data. It means we need to take up that thing as a part of our data analysis. So keep this thing in mind. Any information which you're gathering, it should be further converted into your particular data as a part of analysis. So when you talk about the 6 steps or to make a good research design, questionnaire design, we talk about it. So first of all, already mentioned about it, the identification of your research aims and goals of the questionnaire. For what you are here, what is the purpose, what is the goal, what is the aims when you are making that questionnaire. So in that way, you need to provide the information. Like for example, there is some kind of declaration which I'll show also in the upcoming slide. That declaration need to be given by the scholar, that what one has to keep it in mind when they are collecting that information. That information should be there. There should be some kind of trust and confidentiality between the scholar and the respondent need to be there. That is very much, I can say, important. That also come under the part of ethics also, that whether your respondent knows that what you're doing, for what information you're collecting, what shall be the utility of that information. That also it come across that the aim of your research. Like for example, when we are writing this thing, this particular information which we are collecting from the respondent shall be utilized for academic work only. It is for my PhD program only. So what is the aim? What purpose you're doing? Like for example, if there is a particular, I can say, a scholar, research scientist, which is working in pharmaceutical industry. So in that, when he is using any drug which he want to, I can say, produce in a particular company, then he takes a consent from the patient that this is the particular drug and that is the purpose of this drug. This is how we try to take up that thing. So that aim has to be there. The objective, the main objective, what are the objectives you want to keep it in mind when you're making that research? And what is the goal of the questionnaire? So that what it will lead to, what it will bring out of that. So that is how we try to see about the identification of your research aims and goals of the questionnaire. That is the first thing. So this is the first thing, always keep it in mind whenever we are using the method of data collection, that is the questionnaire. Whenever you are using that questionnaire as a method of data collection, so these are the parameters one has to keep in mind. What is your information, that what you want to achieve, objectives of your research, aim of your research, and the goal of this study. What is the goal? So this is to keep it in mind, then only it will be helping you that I should not astray myself. I should not get deviated myself from the information which I'm going to gather. Research your respondent. It's just very important for me in that case. Take an instance that I want to study about the, I can say, ये आयुष्मान भारत योजना, जैसे कि one of the policy of Government of India, Ayushman Bharat. And again, in that, I'm using the questionnaire as my method of data collection. Just taking it like I can, you can yourself collect yourself, remember yourself that many times we receive certain mails. I, Mr. So and so, Miss So and so is doing a research study on Ayushman Bharat, and they want to get the information from the respondents whomsoever they have sent the mail. Now, question shall be whether that information which you're gathering from those responded is really valid for the validity, whether they is really correct. Because one has to keep it in mind what are the eligible conditions of Ayushman Bharat. Who are the ones who can apply for Ayushman Bharat? That is the main thing. If you don't know your target audience on which you're making a study and you're sharing the information to anyone to fill up, then it means you already have destroyed or killed the purpose of your academic research. Because you don't know your own kind of people, the target audience, from where you have to get the information. They are something with the poverty line. They should have certain kind of the income group in which they are being kept in. That's why the purpose of Ayushman Bharat. Certain age group is being defined as per Ayushman Bharat, those who are eligible to get that thing. Not every citizen is eligible to get Ayushman Bharat. So keep it in mind. So when we are choosing a topic like this, we need to know who are our target audience. That is, research your respondent. आपको ये जानकारी होनी चाहिए as a scholar. You should be well aware that what is the topic of your research and who shall be your research respondent. And the third one, developing questions. Smart questions are the cornerstone of every questionnaire. How you can, because you have to keep it in mind. I always tell to my scholar, to my students, you cannot just make a thesis of the questionnaire. When I say thesis of the questionnaire, it means your questionnaire should not be so lengthy that people, after just checking on the website, on the particular email, on the WhatsApp group, almost 10 pages are there. Just tell me yourself that if I'm sending a particular link to you in which you have 10 pages to fill up the questionnaire, how many of them will be willing to fill up that? Because first of all, you may take up that the particular individual Saurabh is known to you, that you may fill up that. At that time, you will take an effort. You will take an effort to fill up that. But after 5 or 6 pages, you will become bored of refilling that. Making sense? So this is about the how you set up the questions. How many questions you're going to take up. The questions need to be clear and rephrased in a way that prevents any misunderstanding or ambiguities. It should not too lengthy, should not be, I can say, vague, should not be use of too much jargon. Like sometimes we try to, this column, this is a thing I can say after having the experience of teaching since long time, that people want to boast their knowledge, their learning on the respondent, on the subject from where they want to collect information. Like just taking an instance, there was a particular, small story I can remember just to relate with this thing. One of the, I can say, passenger who was traveling along with a boatman. So there was a particular river in which one boat was there and there was one particular boatman was there. And the fellow passenger, he came, and the fellow passenger was a teacher. Let's take an instance that he was a teacher. That he was trying to tell about the particular boatman that you know how to read. So the boatman told his, sir, I don't know how to read. I never went to school. Bola, you don't know how the calculation happened about all the particular numbers. So boatman told, I don't know so much calculation, sir. I know the simple calculation of just adding and taking the money or purchasing something from market. That much I know. I don't know many things in that way. Suddenly they are talking in the particular way journey towards crossing the river. So in between what happened, there was some leakage in the boat. And suddenly the water starts getting filling in the boat. Now the boatman told, sir, do you know how to swim? The teacher told, I don't know how to swim. Then he told that the entire life of yours is now waste. Because you understand, that is how we try to understand. Sometimes you try to make sure that I know everything, and it means my respondent should know everything in that way. That is not reality. Because your respondent, your particular information from where you got trying to gather, he doesn't know much more jargon, much more technical thing which you are aware about it. So you have to respondent, you have to interact in the language in which that individual is compelled to understand. Otherwise, the information will be totally partial, totally biased, or the information not clear for the when you're converting to I can say research. So that's the purpose of that. How you are going ahead of gathering information. That should be more a lack of ambiguity, lack of misunderstanding should be there. So we try to avoid the technical language. That's how we told about it. That is as a part of developing the questionnaire. Choosing a question type, that I'll come also on that different type of question types which I have referred in this particular slide, what we are trying to cover. There are different ways to phrase question. So we'll talk about the causal questions, descriptive questions, exploratory questions. I'll come on that. So I'll just putting this which questions, because I'm putting this particular terminology of phrasing a question or choosing a question because of the research design which you're taking up. If your research design is descriptive, then your question should be more on that line of thought. If your research design is exploratory, then your research design will be, because of research design, your questions should be in that direction. If you try to find some cause and effect relationship, like if the particular, for example, cause and effect, because of midday meal, just take an instance, midday meal and the school enrollment ratio is having an impact. So what I'm trying to say, if the midday meal has been there, it means the school enrollment rate has increased. That is how government is trying to follow the midday meal scheme till date, because that's how we try to bring the children back to the school. So that's the purpose of something. So it's a kind of cause and effect. If the midday meal scheme is not there, then school dropout will be there. So that is we try to analyze that causal question should be there. So we try to identify which kind of questions should be there. And sometimes it may be possible that I want to know the particular, I can say, the interest of on a topic. Like for example, if you've gone to any particular marketplace, then there are some people, those who are being recruited by the research agency to get the questionnaire filled. So they come with that, say, kindly fill up that question, kindly do this thing for me. Can you do this? Spare 1 minute with me. So they ask like the questions. So the questions are very clear forward. If you can read the questions, that what can do, like for example, it's a restaurant-based particular company. They want to come with a restaurant business in particular locality, and they want to know the food habits of the individuals. So what will say, first of all, ki, I will not take an instance, ki, do you eat food? That is a question which should not be asked. Do you eat food doesn't make sense, because every individual who is alive has to consume food for their survival. So this kind of question should not be there. Like for example, question is on restaurant ki, how many times do you prefer to eat outside? And again, number should be there. Like in a month, once, twice, whatever the number which you want to put. Because you are asking about uh, the I can say launch of a restaurant. So you are trying to try to talk about restaurant in that. What are the facility which you give more it is to the in the selection restaurant? Food hai, hygiene hai, and the particular ambience is there, music is there, whatever you say. So in that way, you are trying to find out the particular kind of location, different thing you can see. So this is how it make up the list of questions but that is very sure short question. It means I'm not going to deviate myself. So this is how we try to understand how the questions need to be framed. Okay, framing a question is very important. Overall layout of the questionnaire, that's how we say. After optimizing question individually, it should be checked for layout and overall flow of the questionnaires. After making the questions, the individual research scholar has to keep it in mind that how the things are going ahead, how the things are taking place. Are they, the individuals are comfortable when they are shifting from one question to another? Okay, that is how the sequence need to go in a very easy manner. A follow-up question placed in the correct sequence in case I want to know certain questions in starting, but again, I want to repeat that question. Then what is the way I should repeat that question that I should get the information correctly? There's a kind of questions which can skip, are skip rules implemented. So the participant can skip, like for example, just take an instance, do you eat which kind of food? Veg, non-veg, yeah, mix. If you are veg, then skip question number 10. It means I'm skipping that. In case if I'm vegetarian individual, I'm not eating non-veg, then that 11th question is not at all required by me to fill up. So this is skipping. So you need to give that information in the questionnaire, which question need to be skipped, how you to skip, why the individual should be skipping that. So that's already told about to run a pilot before you go ahead. So this will help you the particular method of designing the questionnaire. What are the things which one has to keep it in mind? So this is how we talk about it. Information, what you want, survey, types of questions, writing questions, organizing, pre-testing, and then finalizing. This is how we talk about the step of framing the questionnaire. Now, this is the thing which I told in the starting of the lecture only, why we need to create a link between the hypothesis and research question. When you're talking, making the question, the hypotheses are developed based on the reason, the solution of the problem using different assumption. Because hypothesis is one of the important aspect in case if you're having hypothesis. Or nowadays, sometimes people may directly come on the research question. So this is one is to keep it in mind. What are the link which we try to develop? Research questions are more applicable in practical research aiming to face problem or uncertainty regardless of applying assumption. I made one example for all of you. For example, I can say hypothesis that with the particular customer care, the question is on customer care, the theme is customer. Do customers care about the quality of services more than prices? This is, I try to keep people don't think about the quality, they are more I can say inclined toward the price. कि सस्ता मिला तो ले लो. They don't talk about the particular services which they want to take up. The customer perception, the quality of services and price. So this is how the information I want to gather. So if the research question should be in case, what do the customers care about? What they think about? What is the parameter when they are purchasing any product? It's a price or it is a service. So this is one to keep in mind that how we try to gather for the relative importance of goods and services. Now we come across ki how we are going ahead with the question. कैसे करना चाहिए? So there are two techniques. I already told about it. One is self-administered, in which that you just make it up and share with the large audience, large population. That is through mail, through online or internet survey. That is self-administered. अपने आप ही लोग response देना शुरू कर देंगे. You have filled the information, you have created the questionnaire, and you are just shoot up. आपने shoot कर दिया उसको through mail, through particular WhatsApp group. Now it is there through internet survey, through I can say online survey. People are asking information. So this is about self-administered, in which you are not making the more effort. You have just to draft it and put it over there. The second one is interviewer based, in which the scholar is responding by gathering the information by face-to-face interaction, in which the individual is going personally to gather the information. So this is about the face-to-face. Sometimes you receive a call that I'm calling from XYZ travel company, and want to know that what is the, I can say, requirement of yours. So this is about telephonic interview in which there is not the, I can say automated messages, which now it is happening because now the company is trying to develop the automated message of gathering information. But in case if you are getting the call directly from the representative is calling to you that on that basis they want to take the information. That is how. Like in case you have done a particular servicing of a car, then the customer person of the I can say service center will give a telephonic call to you. Yes, sir, you have got a service done at this date at our service station. What are the ranking which you want to give? Whether you're satisfied with the quality of the cleanliness, the price, the kind of interaction with the staff over there, any feedback. So there's something which is telephonic. So this is interviewer based, in which the question is being asked by the individual. Different factors for the selection of the survey format. What are the factors we should keep in mind when we try to develop and use the method of questionnaire for data collection? First one is the properties of target population. Just now I gave the example of Ayushman Bharat, in which I told that there are certain individuals who are only eligible. Not everyone is eligible. I've taken an instance that I want to study on that aspect, then my target population should be known to me. I want to talk about right to education, specifically those who are under section 12F. I understand that it's a technical over here. Those who are from the lower income group, but they are getting admission under the RTE in the reputed school of the particular city. So in that, the government has made a mandate to all the school authorities to include the student from every section. So the law is there, but again, they need to implement that. I always say this thing. So in case if you want to study on the section 12F in that you want to study in that case of the individuals, those who are getting the benefit of the Right to Education Act. So in that way, my target population shall be whom? The entire school or the particular group of people, those who are getting benefit under the RTE, who shall be the, I can say, the beneficiary in that case for me? Anyone? In India, when you talk about it, I want to take admission under RTE under the lower income group. So again, as per the, I can read from the website, RT in which the individual's annual income of the family should be 6 lakh, that means not be beyond 6 lakh. And again, the early it was for 1.5, which has now increased to 6 lakh. So this is one has to keep in the income criteria is there for the individual for getting admission there. For example, if you're earning more than 6 lakh, then you're not eligible to take admission under RT in the any school over there. So this is one has to keep it in mind about a target population. If my target population is about the beneficiary, those who are taking admission under RTE, and from which section they belong, then it means my target population is about those population only, not anyone else. Cost. The budget is an important part. When you say about cost over here, in case if you are a scholar, you should know that the particular information which you're gathering, if it is enhancing your, I can say, the budget part of your research, then you try to use the technique of questionnaire only. That is through the self-administered one, either through mail, online, or internet survey. You should use this technique because this technique is very minimal in the cost. So in this way, you can gather the information without spending too much amount. So cost is very much important, because if I'm going to take the method of the face-to-face interview, then in case if I'm traveling in Ahmedabad, just take an instance, and I'm taking a particular face-to-face interview, then every day I have to spend X amount of money on my petrol expenses, on my food expenses. So this thing I have to keep it in mind. So there's something one cannot deny with that. That is the cost. Time, again, if you are having a time constraint, then the self-administered survey, that is through the internet, through the, I can say, online survey, so that will be quite useful, because this will help in, I can say, saving the time of the individual. Already I mentioned that face-to-face surveys are more time consuming than the mail survey. It is all time saving method, which is the web-based survey. So when we are facing the time issue, so we can use the online and telephone-based survey. So that can be utilized. Through online, you can get the information, and also just by giving a call, you can save your traveling time in gathering the information. Specific objectives. For instance, in case of using visual audios in survey, either face-to-face or web-based methods can be applied. Like as per your objective, in case you have to gather the information from the you have to gather the information from the uh, I can say the I can just take an instance of the Ujjwala Yojana. So in Ujjwala Yojana,
Participant
in
PM.
case of Ujjwala Yojana, we're talking about it. So there is some again condition for that. Who are eligible for Ujjwala Yojana? Like for example, one of the important factor that it can help the women from the lower income group from changing their I can say cooking habit from the uses of cow dung cakes or the wood to the LPG cylinder. So this is about how we try to analyze, like for example, one of the study being conducted by a scholar, he did on this topic only, that how Ujjwala Yojana is a way of women empowerment, and in which they try to analyze how things are happening in reality. So in which the individual went to the field and also take some pictures to prove that what a kind of changes are being noticed by him or her when they collected for the field. So this is about how questionnaire can be utilized as per your specific objectives. So keeping that thing in mind, so we try to also look across that what are the efforts being done by the student, by the scholar when they're doing this thing. So now we are going ahead the techniques for designing the question and what are the techniques. It's really simply worded, clear, not very already told about it. This is not the way to show one's creative writing skills, rather, or technical skills in drafting questions. It should be relevant. You should know the topic in which they are asking about it. Now we are going ahead with the types of research questions. What kind of questions should be asked? If your research design, keep it in mind, if your research design is descriptive research design, you are going to take up the descriptive study. So in which you want to describe the features of any phenomena. Like that question will start with what are the methods, what are the techniques, how you are doing this thing, how you did it. So it means your description is there to provide a detailed overview without investigating causal relationship. So make it where you are taking description. Like for example, description of the Ayushman Bharat, take an instance. Who are the ones, those who are going to take it. So what are the policies of that Ayushman Bharat? How one can apply, how the government is making effort. So you are talking about the description. I'm not talking about the whether Ayushman Bharat is successful or unsuccessful. I'm not going in that kind of study. So if my research design is descriptive in nature, then my question should be like this: to outline the features, behaviors, or trends of the subject under investigation. So this kind of question, which say kind of descriptive in nature, this is how we should keep in mind. What are the most common challenges faced by remote workers? These are, you want to know description. what are the challenges being faced during COVID time? What are challenges being faced during the admission under RTE Act? Challenges, description. How do college students use social media for academic purpose? Here the description. I want to know more. Like they want to take a study on that, or they want to watch Instagram. They want to use on the social media. They want to use for what's the reason. So this is our description. What how they're going ahead. What are the benefits they're going across. The second kind of questions can be put under questionnaire method can be comparative research questions. If your research design is comparative in nature, in which you are comparing two or more groups or variables to identify differences or similarities. I want to study about the, I can say the, like for example, there are two states in India who has prohibited the consumption of liquor. One is Gujarat since long time, and second state is Bihar. I want to know the comparative study of the success of the liquor ban in these two states. So it is comparative study. I want to study this, how these two states have behaved, or what are the challenges, what are the success, unsuccess. This we are trying to compare between two different groups to identify and analyze differences and similarities between groups or conditions. Example, how do male and female high school students differ in their academic performance? Now, there is a comparison between the students on the basis of gender. How males study, how female students study. What are the academic grades? How they perform in the result. This is about comparative study. Because as a student, you want of the research matter, you want to study this kind of topic. So you want a comparative study of the particular academic grade of the boys and girls students. What is the difference in job satisfaction between remote and in-office employees? Like for example, during COVID time, we have the work from home. Whether the employees are satisfied in that time. Now when they're coming back to the office in the regular manner, are they satisfied now? So this thing one has to keep it in. This is kind of comparative. Which kind of method was useful? The third kind of research question can be drafted, that is causal research question. It means cause and effect. So my questionnaire should be made up in such a manner. I want to identify the cause happening and its impact over there. So it explore cause and effect relationship between variables. If I, for example, just take an instance, earlier I just take the example of the midday meal and the school dropout. So if I say midday meal scheme is being closed, whether it will impact on the school enrollment rate. Understand the cause and impact. Midday meal scheme is different. School enrollment is different, but both are connected. Cause and effect. You are trying to find out that kind of study, then you can use the causal research questions. These questions typically start with how, what, focusing on whether one variable influences one another. Because you have to keep it in mind, you are going ahead with the understand that there is a connection between two variables. One is impacting on the other. Purpose is that to examine the impact of an independent variable on a dependent variable and identify causal relationship. So if I say midday meal scheme is the independent, the what is dependent? School enrollment, then the particular teacher over there, then the parent, because they also come across, because if the students are not coming to school, what they're doing, what is the teacher doing in that way if they have closed the midday meal scheme. So these are our independent dependent variables. How do sleep duration affect cognitive performance in adults? Now see, sleeping is independent. Cognitive is dependent on that. Like if I'm not sleeping properly for 6 hours or 8 hours as per the medical advice, then what is the impact on the human being? How they behave, how they act, how they react. So this is about that thing, which is a causal effect relationship. What is the impact of new training program on employee productivity? If the company has come with a new thought, or if the company want to compare that after getting this kind of training, what are the impacts on the production? So this is about causal effect relationship. The questions should be drafted in case as a scholar, if you're going to ahead with it, then you take, like for example, Mudra Yojana. Mudra Yojana is one of the flagship program of the government of India. Mudra Yojana is for targeting the women financial empowerment. So I want to study whether Mudra Yojana has made an impact on the women's status, focusing on their financial empowerment. So I can study through this kind of thing. So if my topic is that, then I will use the causal questionnaires for making my study. So this is how I can go ahead. The next kind of question can be drafted is exploratory. Exploratory research question can be made up in the questionnaire, which is open-ended and aim to explore a topic that is not yet well understood. You want to study further. You don't know how the things are, like, for example, AI, ML, deep learning, totally new topics. But again, there are something happening. We cannot avoid that. Maybe after a few days, maybe there's a huge changes in the academy itself. So which is completely exploring. You're not knowing in that, so you'll use in that. Why, how it will happen. Like for example, the purpose is that to investigate a new area of interest and gain foundational insight. So this is how we try to see the exploratory questions being drafted under a questionnaire method. Why do students choose online learning over traditional classroom? Explore क्यों choose करना चाहते हैं? What the reason for that? How do individuals perceive the effect of climate change in their community? अब कैसे, because climate change is happening, but again we are not able to notice so easily. But again, I want to see that impact on the requirements of the food grains, the ability of water, the change in the climate cycle. So there's some impact which you can start exploring in that way. Evaluative research questions. It is to assess the effectiveness, impact, or value of a program, intervention, or strategy. You want to make the assessment, a evaluative study of the, I can say, one rank, one pension program, OROP, especially for whom? For the defense personnel. So it means I have to make a study whether this policy has made an impact, evaluation, assess that thing, that help in determining whether specific goals or outcomes have been achieved or not. The purpose of this study, kind of study can be, I have to make up in that. So our questionnaire should be drafted in such a manner. Whether you are you taking the benefits of one OROP? To yes, the next question will come sequence question. What are things which you can give it, in which way you can rank over here? So entire question should be on the which basis? On the assessment, evaluative study. So your questions should be drafted in this manner only. How effective is cognitive behavioral therapy in reducing symptoms of anxiety? What impact has a new policy on work from home had on employee satisfaction? So it is a kind of evaluative assessment. So this kind of study, if you are having, then your questions should be drafted in that direction only. So just to give an illustration for you, if I'm doing something on education, on psychology, on healthcare, on marketing, if it is descriptive, what kind of questions should be there? If it is comparative, what kind of questions should be there? If it is causal kind of study for me, then what kind of questions should be there? Making sense? So this is about healthcare. In that case, we have done something kind of examples to for all of you. Now, the question which we need to keep it in mind, how it should be the question, the design of questionnaires. It can be open-ended or closed-ended. As told just now, logical sequence. That means we need to create, first of all, a kind of establish a relationship between the repo and the collection of data required without any disturbance. Intrusive questions are more likely to be answered if they're inserted in the sequence once the repo has been studied. Intrusive means you want something more known about that individual. Intrusive. Lead question should create interest. Like for example, if you like this, if you do this thing, then answer the following. If you don't, then change. This is your lead question. After this, the next question will come across. Difficult question should always be asked in the end. Certain thing which you don't want that people should avoid. So this kind of questions should always kept in the last only. Personal questions should be asked in the end only. Again, the styles of the questionnaire should be, it should be short, specific, clear, and unambiguous. Already it mentioned what technical words. It should be simple English. Not at all in that. If you are using the Hindi or Gujarati language for data collection, then it was simple Gujarati, simple Hindi, simple whichever language you talk about it. In that, it should be lucid. People can easily understand what you want to ask. So again, the clear layout already told in the starting only what it is, the purpose, how it should be, and every information about that instruction should be given in bold. Should be bold, written in the capital letter, underline. You have to make that thing clearly to the respondent what you expect from them. Because when you're sending the questionnaire through mail or through online, you're not available to make the clarity. You're not present in the physical format to give the to give your instruction what is there. So your questionnaire carry everything. So in the questionnaire, you have to make everything clear. What is you are asking from them? Again, I told that how it should be. It should not too lengthy. Like I just told in home interview, when you're having the person to take up in person face to face, you can spend 1 hour in taking the information because you're sitting together. But in case if you are having a person who is in a business in something, he cannot spend that much time. So you have to take up the time management in that case. Now question come across, sometimes we are sending the questionnaire, but we are not responding, we are not getting the response. What is response rate? People are not taking my questionnaire seriously. I did everything. But again, what I think one should keep it in mind. Send notification before the real survey. You should know your target population. आप ये मत कहो कि totally you are sending to everyone. That is something difficult. People try to assume that we can send to everyone. कोई को reply कर ही देगा. So that's a wrong assumption which you carry out. Second, you can also send the reminders or call back in case you are not getting response from the individual if you know them. You can say, please, I've sent a mail to you, please respond to me. So maybe twice or thrice, but it should be very positively sent as gentle reminder. So now you are trying to take the help. So you should not put any kind of condition. So make up that. Motivate response by using different reward, consider charity, donation, or preparing a summary of result. In case if you have done, then you can refer their names as a kind of in the annexure, in the acknowledgement that this particular study was conducted with the help of XYZ group of locality of people. So this is how you give credit to the individual. People want that credit. At least if you're doing, if someone is helping you, then you recognize the efforts. Identify the aim of the study and sponsor. If you're getting funded, then you need to provide the name of the funder agency, fund donor agency. You have to ensure the confidentiality and privacy at first. Everyone wants that. And add a similar response at the end in the web-based ones also. These are something which we try to ask. कैसे question हो सकता है? Open and close and out should be simple word. If it is multiple choice, determinant choice or checklist. Like for example, it means already you have given a choice. See, this only this tick you have to make. Or if you make checklist, then you have to make which thing they want. Close any question over here, just an illustration for all of you, in which you are asking the specific question, yes or no, true or false, two choices. If there's a multiple choice, you make A, B, C, D as per you want to say. If you are using the scaling technique, how do you rate my food? How do you rate my service? It is 5 excellent, 4 very good, 3 good, 2 bad, and 1 very bad. So this is our ranking in that as a kind of ranking or kind of question you can create. Semantical differential. This is how somebody a kind of technique which we use in the psychology. A 7 ranking scale which you try to make up. Like for example, from the bad to good, which rank you want to say? Like good is the topmost, and the cruel the least one. So it is semantic differential. Same differential is being made when you're collecting the information. This is about the questionnaire technique. Mutually exclusive. It means when you say mutually exclusive, it means like you see responsive category must be such that the same response cannot be classified into more than one category. अब यहाँ पे example मैंने दिया 1,000 to 5,000, and second is 5,000 to 10,000. So this is not mutually exclusive. Why say it's mutually not? Because 5,000 is in both the places. So you have to make sure it should be mutually exclusive. It means 1,000 to 5,000, 5,001 to 10,000, 10,001 to 15,000. Making sense? So this is mutually exclusive information you want. That person should not get confused. Where should I place my answer? Mutually exhaustive. You should include all possible response options. You can make it up. For example, you're given all the option. Like in the last, I always add like myself, any other, please specify. If these options are not available, then any other option which you want to add on, please write. It means I have made my own thought, this can be the option, but as a respondent, you have some other thoughts in that. So that can be mutually exhaustive. So this is how you can see how the question should be framed. What is your opinion of Indian Airlines? अब यहाँ पे ये unstructured है, you don't know. Structured में कैसे होगा? What a word that comes to when you airline में क्या कौन सा best Indian है, कौन सा travel में कौन सा चाहिए, we talk about it. This is the word you want to know. Sentence completion. When I choose an airline, the most important consideration in my decision is how to take it. We are talking about the aviation industry. So this is how you try to frame the questions when you're taking the information, taking the research on that. Story completion, if you're using this technique as a kind of data collection. An incomplete story is presented and response has to complete. Like for example, there is a particular image of a woman standing next to the, I can say, bus station or on the, and then it's a night duration. What is the story you can create? So in that way, you want to take up that kind of story also. Picture completion, thematic appreciation text. These are contingency questions, just not told about it. If you know the first one, then also then you should answer the next one. Otherwise, you can skip. Like for example, did you drink any alcoholic beverage at any time during the first semester of the college? If yes, then answer 10A to 10B. If no, then go to directly question number 11. This is contingency question. So how you can draft the questions when you talk about it. Matrix question in which you try to find some link over there, in which some ranking is can be created. Like for example, my college classes are more demanding than my high school classes. Strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. This is matrix question. How the question should be organized. So there are three categories I mentioned over here: general type of orders, information achieved, and general or specific questions. First one is serial questions that we talk about it. Semantic, which I say about it, the two things about good, bad, ugly, pleasant. So this is a semantic question. Basic information which you want to gather. Classification if you want to do it on certain questions. You want to take classification. Identification, like for example, certain information very clearly you want. What sort of information you want to gather from it. This is a funnel type of, I can say funnel type of that. Like for example, you take up from the general question and come to the specific question, funnel type questions. So this is inverted funnel, which is generally in the social side, we use the funnel type questions. From general, we come to the specific. Inverted funnel, which we try to see in the science only, natural science only, basically. We try to take a assumption when you develop on that and create a new theory. So this is about the inverted funnel over here. Points for the order question, put easy question in the first part. The second group related questions, ask question about the opinion of the participant, then opener. Put the question related to the topic first at basic information, then add the classification and identification information respectively. Commonly used funnel approach, just not told about it. That is from the general to more specific one. And what did I told about it? Place a sensitive question at the last only. Add important, interesting question at the beginning of the part that you want to create some kind of interest. Gain a natural flow of the questions among the questionnaire. Already I told about it. This thing I'm not going to repeat once again. This is, you can take some example. How many gallons of drink did you consume during the last week? This is incorrect. Correct should be how often. You cannot make someone that you want is a drunkard in that case. You try to say, take up that how often do you consume. So it is about the option you have given. So this is the way of drafting the questions while using the mathematical question over here. Again, I've given the incorrect and correct over here. Do you think the hard drink are readily available when you want to buy them? This is the correct one. First one, just say the distribution of hard drink is adequate. You are assuming everything from your end. That should not be done. You want to get the information, so you make the things more simple. Don't put your thoughts in the minds of the respondent. Like for example, how often do you shop in the mall? अब यहाँ पे neighbor, occasionally, sometimes, often, regularly. These all words are very confusing with each other. Whether what I should give, I should make it number less than once, 1 or 2 times, 3 or 4 times, more than 4 times. So you have to understand you are giving option which can make the respondent correctly choose that. Again, again, it is about the particular understanding of the uses of the local products by the company, by the respondents. So you see the drafting the question. Option is same, but should the draft of the questions which are being there. Do you think that the patriotic Indians should buy imported automobiles when that would put Indian labor out of work? आपका क्या क्वेश्चन है कि आप पहले से मान चुके हो पेट्रियोटिक इंडियंस क्वेश्चन सी कि पहले से इंडियन लेबर्स का क्या पूछना है उस पर आपको क्वेश्चन आपका स्टडी बेस वो हो बट यू हैव कीपिंग दैट थिंग इन द क्वेश्चन itself whether it should be do you think the Indians should buy imported automobiles yes or no imported लेना चाहिए कि नहीं लेना चाहिए सिंपल क्वेश्चन है instead of making more technical more in that you create more confusion make the simple English there's some ethics issue which you have to keep in mind already this thing you must have read also almost same I can see in the questionnaire technique also it should be there the include the name of the nation from where you belong to when you are taking this information include the broad field of study what the purpose of the study is all about include them why this field is sensitive why you want this information to be there include whether the data is used or held confidentiality is there or not estimate length of the survey you can say that this survey can only take 10 minutes of yours kindly spare 10 minutes of yours include whether any cost is imposed on them whether you are paying to them or not in case if you're paying whether interview is recorded, whether you're going to use this interview for future records. These are some limitations which are saying about questionnaire. It is superficial, difficult to capture the richness of meaning, cannot deal with context. Information is not casual. Information is not self-report, does not reflect the true behavior. Like for example, whether you are getting the information filled by Saurabh or by Kalpesh, no one knows. Both can have the link and who is filling the form, no one knows. So this is about the information from the correct individual. Who is the correct one? With this, I'm winding up. Thank you so much. In case if you have any, I can say, questions, I'll be happy to pick up that. Or hopefully, Kalpesh, I'm not taking extra time of yours. Sir, you're not audible to us, sir.
Okay, yeah. So participant, thank you very much, sir, for your insight on preparing questionnaire and strategic way how to use and how to form question. So participant, any question query, you can please raise your hand or you can put the question in the chat box. There are two, three questions are there in chat box. By the time, let me read out. Let me start with a small one. So how to find out
Swati,
which
a question,
method?
in case I can read the question over here. Swati asked, how to find out which method of sampling will be suitable for the purpose of data collection. Madam, आपका sampling अलग है, method of data collection है. But again, in that case, because already I am mentioning over here, कि आपका sampling is one of technique under quantitative if you go ahead. So थोड़ा सा you should make the clarity of the statement what I'm trying you are asking from me. कि method of sampling is something different. There are two kinds of methods we say purposive sampling and probability sampling and non-probability sampling. दो आपके techniques होते हैं sampling में. यहाँ पे questionnaire में when you talk about it, you first of all identify the particular study target population. आप किसको चाह रहे हो? And the target population, when I saying it's a kind of self-administered, it means my target population should know how to use the internet, should be able to read. That is the my target population of that kind. So otherwise difficult. और आपका हो सके कि आप मेल कर रहे, you can shoot the mail to anyone. Like for example, if I'm studying about the college students, so I can send the mail to anywhere in India in case if my study is pan-India. So in that way, I should not be able to distinguish कौन मेरा होगा methods में sampling को लेकर के. एक question है, which the question should be asked if the data is collected through interview method. Anurag ji, if you are using an interview method, in case if you have structured questions, that will be quite useful. Structured question means you are very clearly with the topic. What are your research topics? What is your research objectives? And on that, you have drafted your questionnaire. So structured question will be much more better in case if you're taking the interview method. क्योंकि यदि आप थोड़ा सा एक्सपर्ट बन जाएं So maybe you can use the unstructured question also. But again, at this moment, I'll suggest you to go ahead with the structured question. That is the I can say mention I over here. Tanya, ma'am, I have started. I have told in the starting only. If you're not providing a number of questions and a time frame, then there's a less chance that people will respond back to you. So you, as an ethical researcher, you mentioned that this is the number of questions and this much time you're going to spend. Because then only I should go ahead. Otherwise, kya hoga, if you're having not in giving information, it is of 10 pages, that's I told in the starting. I can have this kind of problem. And maybe a Kalpesh sir asks me to fill up that. But after 5 pages, 6 questions, I feel totally bored to fill up that. So I should be
Yeah,
very carefully going ahead at what is the time frame for me.
yeah, it happens. You know, we never click next page, next page, next page, and then we really fed up, and then we leave.
So that
So,
is the purpose. Question में दिक्कत यही है.
yes, yes.
I
So,
can do one thing in case sir can allow me. There are some different AI and chat GPT, the technical things are there, which can be quite useful for the researcher. So there's one question, Kalpesh sir, for me, if you can read. Tanya ma'am already had asked that AI enabled software is there for using the study. So if you want, then there's one session can be considered for that only.
sure, sure, sure.
Users
On the
of AI.
question, in the question, like, one second, I think question query, I would say, sir, my research on scholarship primary study, I make many time question, but I am not completely prepared. So, from Amarjit.
Amarjit sir, in some research on scholarship primary study, I make many questions. Sir, don't make too many questions in a questionnaire, sir. Generally, I say always try to tell my students make specific target-oriented questions only under questionnaire method. Otherwise, there is a high chance risk factor that people will respond to you. मैं इसलिए बाबा कह रहा हूँ स्टार्टिंग में से ही कि if you are using questionnaire technique for data collection, be specific, be precise, be concise in that way. Don't expect that people will spend that much time from you. So keep it in mind. In questionnaire, this is one of drawback and fallacy also. तो इसलिए जितना हो सके अमरजीत सर आप प्लीज प्रीफर टू लिमिट योर नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. अच्छा, इट
Yes,
इज फॉर कल्पेश सर.
yes, how many? Yeah, any last question, participant, before we wind up?
How
Sir,
many
please.
questions should be in the again Yashvir sir, I will suggest you please take up your research objective, be clear in your mind what is your objectives, and on that basis you should draft a questionnaire. I always put it this, your research objective should be fulfilled when you're using that questionnaire as a method of data collection. You are able to gather more information from that. Yes, Amarji sir, you can send it to me. My email ID is there already in the starting of the first slide. I'm just writing for you, Amarjit sir. You can share with me. I can have a look on that.
Participant, already recordings are there. Please go through all the recordings on our, YouTube
You can
channel.
share your name also, Amarjit sir, before you make a mail. And also that is the purpose, what I think you require from mine. I can do the needful review for you.
Okay. Any last question? I will share it in the groups. Don't worry. Yes. Any other last question? I'll share the detail in the group. Yeah. Vishal, you want to ask something or it's clapping?
Someone want to ask something, listening.
I will share
Let's
in
see.
the group email ID. Yeah.
आप मेल में दीजिए सर in case if they need, and also my phone number in case if they want to connect over that also WhatsApp पे.
Yeah, sure, sure. I think
ठीक
we
है
are
sir,
done with all.
can we
Sure.
wind up
Yes.
now?
Yes, yes, yes. So, participants, sorry, we won't be able to take more questions. Oh, which has been already been approved by 48 questions. So please be careful, sweetie. There is a
Share
48
once again,
question.
Sweti, your questions with me in case if I can do needful help to you. I will try to provide that assistance. And
No,
that's what I'm saying. In
respondents are
48
not.
कोई respond नहीं करेगा मैम आपको, which I
It's
told in
really
starting only.
approval again, that is fine, but guide will be
आपको
one
आपको
approve.
कोई fill up ही नहीं करे, what you should do, what you will do in that case.
Yeah, what do I do? Again, you have to start afresh. I would say this will be suggestion from Saurabh
You
sir
can share
also.
your concern with me, Sweetie ma'am, in case we need any support from my end. You can take
Sure,
the help from Kalpesh sir for that.
sure. So, thank you, sir, for your insightful session, and then the tips and techniques and various. Obviously, we have to start right, draft, and then maybe after two, three draft, you able to refine your. And then one question, I would say, even if guide say yes, that is fine. We have to respect, but again, this is the
You are the
in
main
case.
person, Kalpesh sir, for doing the research. You want to
Yes,
keep it
sir.
in mind.
Yeah, so we have to again we have to face difficulty. So whenever we get many question or we have seen I started filling up. Same thing maybe for you also. And then after a certain point of time you fed up and then leave. So even friend keep asking our colleagues or keep asking, but again uh, due to this long question we are not able to go with. So thank you very much, sir. On behalf of Law Teachers India, we are grateful for your wonderful time and sharing your insight in preparing question. And participant, thank you very much for joining and for a fruitful discussion. So,
Thank you, Kalpesh sir. Thank you,
thank
everyone,
you,
those
sir.
who came, joined the session. Thank you so much. Feel free to approach me in case I can be any useful to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.